Hey guys, welcome to 31 Horror Toys in 31 Days. Today I'm going to be reviewing the McFarlane Toys Bloody Negan figure. I believe he's a bloody variant just because he was in the 2-pack with the Glenn figure. Unfortunately, he's all bloodied, but the Glenn did come with a separate, squishied head. Just didn't make any sense to me, I don't know. You can check out my review of the Glenn in a separate video. Make sure to do that. I'm sure you will. And then, as for the figure here, we're going to start out by looking at his accessories, which he has quite a few of. And then we're going to take a look at sculpt and paint, and then finally articulation. So to start off, let's take a look at his beautiful Lucille. Well, actually, this isn't the one he came with. This is a far superior Lucille to the one he comes with. This here is the one he comes with. Let's set him aside so we can take a look at this. It is very skinny and not too pliable. I get the feeling like it feels a little bit like a toothpick. I'm not gonna lie, I think it will break like upon the slightest movement. But as for the paint, it's not too terrible, although there's a huge spot right up at the top with just silver paint all over that. I don't know how accurate that is, but I don't think it's too accurate. There's some good blood work on it, some wood grain stuff put in, but it's just very flimsy looking. Here's this compared to the other Negan bat. This one came with the Prisoner Negan from the comic series. Oh, spider on my desk. Yep. And I feel like this one gets the point across much better. It looks more vicious. I guess the one in the show is a lot more skinny, but I don't know, this one just looks a lot better. So as you can see, the bat does fit in his hand. Let me get the focus back in this room. The bat fits in his hand here. This is one of his two hands. He has an alternate hand that also holds the bat, but slightly differently. So as you can see here, he has a tilt sort of in a fighting pose. So this is really the main hand that you'd want to use. The other one I'll show you in a minute, but you can hold it like that. Holding double-handedly is a bit of a problem. He can only hold it like, if you squeeze it in there, just in about that position only. He can't really get it like over his head or anything, but I didn't really expect that much from McFarlane Toys, and as far as what we got, I feel like he's been done very well, so I'm not going to complain too much. So there's the bat. Let's swap out his hand. Actually, you know what? Let's get a look at the weapons first, since that will be pretty important. Here's the pistol, the Glock from what it looks like. And again, I kind of assume these accessories belong to Negan because it doesn't actually say on the box which goes to Negan and which goes to Glenn. So you know what, you just kind of go by which one's on their side. And the pistol and this rifle were on Negan's side, so these are his weapons, why not? Even though, I'm not sure if Negan's actually... I can't remember Negan using a machine gun in this season, Season 7. I'm gonna have to look back on that. It wasn't a terrible season, I'm not gonna lie. I do keep putting it down all the time, but as far as entertainment-wise, I was entertained. I just didn't get exactly what I wanted out of The Walking Dead Season 7. But this Season 8 looks like it's shaping up to be really cool, so we're going to have to really take a look at that, huh? Alright, so the figure looks really good with his pistol. He can pose it around very well. I mean, I kind of love this pistol. This is, other than Lucille, this is going to be his main weapon. The rifle is a bit of a problem, but as for the sculpt and paint on the pistol, it's solid. It's got the black paint with the silver sort of dry brushing on it. And it's got basic sculpt. I feel like we've seen this one before. Let me pull out. I think this is the same one we got with the Series 4. Oh. Every time I drop something, there it is. Yeah. With the, I think that's Series 4 Rick. I don't know. He was like an exclusive Rick or something. They put out just two figures. It was a 2-figure wave. And this Rick came with the exact same pistol that Negan has. So that's interesting. Especially since, if you think about it, this is kind of what he was wearing, what Rick was wearing in the finale episode of Season 7. So that's kind of a good matchup right there. You can see the height differences. I kind of like that a lot. Look how tall Negan is. That's menacing. Because if I remember correctly, Jeffrey Dean Morgan does stand about a head taller than Rick. That's awesome. So there's the pistol. I like that a lot. Let's take a look at the next accessory, which is, this is the least of them all. It's just a rifle, you know, we've gotten a ton of these. I have a bag full of these things, so I'm just going to toss this one aside after I'm done reviewing it. I guarantee you I will never know which one belongs to Negan and which one belongs to who, but, you know, this one is Negan's. And can you hold it in one hand? Yeah, the other hand you'd have to stretch out way too much to get on the barrel. It wouldn't really be worth it, so he can one-handedly hold a machine gun. That's not too bad. It looks pretty sick. You can get some dope moves up in here. Get him doing the sideways gangsta shooting, I don't know. And then it has a strap which is a bit pliable, and you can just put that over his shoulder, and he looks rather prepared. So you could have that, you could have the Lucille in one hand and then the pistol in one hand. So technically he can have all of his weapons on him at once. I like that. It would be nice if he had like a, didn't Negan have a holster for his pistol? I'm gonna have to look at that. But it would be nice if he came with that. Just saying. Okay, so let's set those aside. His last accessory would be his alternate hand, which I keep losing. I've had to redo this review quite a few times just because trying to put this on, it goes shooting off into the corner, and then I have to dig for it for 10 minutes and then start over. But as you can see, this is the hand that has the trigger finger, and it's more bent to the side. And then this one's more gesturing, and then this one's just kind of like a balled up fist with a slight opening just for the bat. And this really is just for the bat, because let me pull this off and swap it. The swap is fairly easy after a few times. The first time it was like ridiculously hard to do. Yeah, so this is just made for the bat because any other weapon will stretch it out and it will have to hold way too tight. It just wouldn't work. So here's the bat, and let me squeeze that in there, hopefully not break the bat in the process, which is one of my complaints about this figure. That bat just seems a little brittle. It's gonna give. Yeah, and then with this, the idea is you can kind of sling it over his shoulder more. Even though it doesn't quite work perfectly, you can kind of fiddle around with it until it... It's just a pain. But yeah, you can kind of get it into different poses more close to his body. I just wanted to get in that one position that he has. That's close enough. Where he has it like just hanging over his shoulder. And of course, even with this hand, you can't get it too much better in a double-handed. I think maybe, if at all, it is slightly better. There. Let me actually get this in a double-handed pose. There we are. That's effort. And this figure is just fun to pose around and look at. I love Jeffrey Dean Morgan's portrayal of Negan. I feel like, at first I thought, nah, he seems a little too skinny and all this. It just doesn't seem to fit it. After watching a little bit of it, it was like, oh yeah, this guy's spot on. Because Jeffrey Dean Morgan just nailed the performance, and now I can't even imagine anyone else as Negan. Alright, now we're going to take a look at sculpt and paint. We're going to start with the head, which is absolutely perfect. This is Jeffrey Dean Morgan. He's just come to life, and then went out of life, became a small plastic figure that was painted and looked amazing. I don't know. He shrunk down. Also, did anyone else notice that Jeffrey Dean Morgan looks a lot like Javier Bardem? I was just looking at trailers to this movie, Mother, and Javier Bardem looks exactly like Jeffrey Dean Morgan. Just saying. Look it up, if you don't know who he is. But yeah, that looks great. It's got all the wrinkles in his face. It's like dead on. And then even the little hairs on his beard are sculpted in and then painted. It all looks so individually done. It's just so beautiful. That head sculpt is amazing. No complaints at all. This is better than I could ever imagine of doing with a custom. Which I did a custom of my Negan, but I'm a little embarrassed to show him now, considering how awesome this Negan looks. We'll just set him at a distance so you can see. Here's my comic Negan custom next to Jeffrey Dean Morgan figure. And there's like no comparison. Jeffrey Dean Morgan figure blows mine out of the water. But considering I'm not a $1 million toy company or something, I guess I didn't do too bad, huh? I don't know. Let me set him aside, and then let's get back to the look. He has a nice scarf on him that's all dark red. You can't really tell if there's any blood on it because the blood leads up to here, so you'd imagine there'd be blood on the scarf, but it's the exact same color as blood, so you'd never be able to tell. Then he has some blood on his forehead there and a little on his jacket. Well, a fair amount on his jacket, actually. Some on the sleeve, down to the hand. I like the blood. I feel like usually they do it in a way so it feels like you could do that yourself. With this one, I feel like the splatters were done fairly well to the point where it would be just about as good as a good customizer could do. So, no complaints on the blood. It looks like blood, it's got a good consistency, and it's not done with a heavy hand, so, wow, yeah, that's 100%. I like it. And then the sculpt of the jacket is beautiful, perfect. It's got all the folds. It's got just a little bit of everything. It's got the zippers all over, all painted. Just looks absolutely outstanding. You can even see the tiny little details in the zipper. It's just, oh man, that's awesome. Then all the belts are done up, leading down to his legs, where right at the bottom of his legs, I feel like these folds should be tucked into his boot, but instead there's like this huge gap here. I get the feeling like they did that so that he would be taller, like they had it so that his boots went up all the way, but then they were like, hey, now he's only like that much taller than Rick, and they were like, that wouldn't be right. So they made him just a slight bit taller by extending this, and by doing so it does look a little odd, but I don't know, no huge complaints for that. While it looks a little odd, it does add to height, and the mobility is just about as good as you could figure with boots, so yeah, I think it was done pretty well. So sculpt and paint, I'm going to give it 10 out of 10, really. It's just amazing. He's like a mini statue, really, if you look at him. A mini statue that's posable, the way it should be done in the action figure business. And then, now we're going to talk about the articulation, which is not too bad. It's fairly decent. Let's start with the head. It does not too much movement, side to side. It's limited because of the scarf, which I will mention, the scarf doesn't really come off. You could pull it off of the neck, but it's like really dug in right there. So you'd have to do some customizing to make him a t-shirt wearing Negan. Just saying. Okay, back to the articulation. He does look up a slight bit. You can look down maybe a little. And then at the shoulders we got a full 360, and it moves out at a sort of V shape because of the design of the jacket. It moves out to almost a right angle to his body. And then, let's see, at the elbow it does a full 360 spin. It can go up and down to a little past a 90-degree angle there. And then at the wrist it does a full 360 spin, and then it's got that extra hinge so that he can do the dice roll or the scratching at a wall pose. And then he's got the same on the other arm to just about a T. See, I think the elbow bends just slightly less, which isn't too bad. Then at the hips there's no swivel, but he does have right here at the crotch, he can do the splits, which he feels solid there. Usually the McFarlane figures, you do that and you're like, oh boy, one more time and he's broken. But with this guy, no problem. He can kick forward about that much. He can kick back, not really. And then at the knees, he can bend to about a 9-degree angle, a little less maybe. Do a full 360 spin, kick back forward. And then at the boot, there's a little bit of rotation. There's no ankle pivot or anything, so you wouldn't really expect that since the boots are fully sculpted. And I don't think I mentioned, they do look nice. They have a lot of detail on them. Even the buckles are done up and painted. It's just a beautiful figure. So, that is the figure. Tell me what you guys think. I love this figure a lot. He's the highlight of my collection, right next to my custom Rick from, I guess that would be Coda Rick. These are the two favorites from my collection. Just like to set them next to each other. We need to see Bearded Rick go up against Negan's, because Bearded Rick legit is like a different person. He's someone else. He brings on a different persona. I think this would be an awesome matchup. Bearded Rick versus regular Negan. So tell me what you guys think. Do you like the... Did I say thanks? Tell me what you guys think. Did you like the review? Do you like me? Do you like everything about this 31 Horror Toys in 31 Days? Tell me. Make sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe. And I'll see you guys in the next review. Peace.